Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Mortgage Coach coaching call. My name is Dave Savage. I'm the CEO of Mortgage Coach, and I am totally dedicated to your personal and professional success. The way we here at Mortgage Coach do it is we're driven by the values of wowing people, making complex concepts simple, and creating just excellent technology. Everything we do is around that. That helps deliver total cost education, which delivers a modern mortgage experience, which helps home buyers and realtors make confident mortgage decisions. So I did want to do a shout out for Sales Mastery next week. I am actually flying in on Monday. I've got the CEO Roundtable on Tuesday. All you Mortgage Coach friends that are on the call, if you're going, make sure you connect with me. I want to say hi to you at the event. I want to roll out some of our new innovations. We've got a new app that we're rolling out, so really excited about that. So make sure you connect. Got two awesome guests today. I've got Josh Mettle coming back for the second time. Last time was when I was interviewing Jack Daly. So Josh, welcome to the Mortgage Coach community, and thanks for making time today.
Glad to be here. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, well, thank you, brother. And I've got a first-time Mortgage Coach leader on today's call, although he's not a first-time Mortgage Coach. His story around Mortgage Coach dates back to, what was it, 2002, Tom?
2003.
2003, when he was a producer and using Mortgage Coach to win business and wow customers, and now today manages a large and successful branch for Fairway. So Tom, welcome to the call.
Hey, thanks, Dave. Glad to be here.
Good. So guys, I'm going to be interviewing Josh first, but Tom, feel free to jump in. I'm going to set the stage. Feel free to pile on, ask questions, or add value to anything. And then, Tom, I'll bring you in towards the second half of the call. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right. So the focus today is all around Mortgage Coach leadership. We've got someone who's a super successful mortgage professional who's new to using Mortgage Coach, someone that's been using it since 2003 and now leads an entire sales organization. And it's all about leadership. But leadership starts with a message that I've been, bringing to this call now for, several weeks. Leadership starts with how we're bringing value to the marketplace. And realtors are our referral partners, and home buyers are mobile savvy. And when we look at where the market's going, again, I know these numbers have been talked about in coaching calls, but it's important that we frame this. It's important that we execute around where the market is 5 years from now and where the market is right now. Right now, whether they're millennial, Gen X from an age perspective, even if they're not from an age perspective, they're using mobile devices, and people are shopping for home online. They're shopping for homes with mobile devices. And by the way, they're verifying your rates with mobile devices. So it's never been easy to verify what prices are for a mortgage. So it's critical that as mortgage coaches, we're playing into the trends. And the trends are really simple. And I covered this on my call with Steve Harney on Thursday. If you're on this call and you weren't on that call with Steve Harney, check it out, where we talked about how everybody wants mobile value, but very few realtors, less than 15%, are doing it. So from a Mortgage Coach perspective, you guys need to create more videos, and I'm going to be talking about strategies and ways of doing that. Josh is going to talk about how he went from being a very passionate loan officer, but now he's passionate about Mortgage Coach. So takeaways from Tuesday's call, I just couldn't help but, not an epiphany, not something new, but when I did my interview last Tuesday, this is a follow-up from last Tuesday's coaching call, and we talked about what's important to delivering TED-like presentations. Starts with passion, then it goes to making a multi-sensory experience. So we only retain 10% of what we hear verbally or text, but if it's through a picture, and if it's through a multi-sensory experience, that's how we get a wow. So as Mortgage Coach loan officers, it's important for us to say, what percentage of our clients are we driving through that multi-sensory experience? So if you were not on Tuesday's call, make sure you watch Tuesday's call. We walk you through how to do it and why do it. And Thursday's call was just all about modern open house experiences, how you just blow up an open house as a loan officer and you don't even have to attend the open house. All you got to do is send a link to your realtors, and now they display their mobile devices, and we walk you through that. I also wanted to do a shout out to a future guest of a Mortgage Coach coaching call, Sean, pronounce his name right, Hirio, with RPM, is a great leader. He actually forwarded me this picture over the weekend. We were going back and forth on some video ideas, and he's like, hey, here's proof. I was actually watching the coaching calls from my mobile devices. So I wanted to do this shout out for all you on this call. All of these calls are recorded, and not only can you watch them on your desktop, you can easily watch them on your mobile devices. Sean said he watched one coaching call while he was out for a run. Obviously, he was hopefully just listening, not watching, and he watched the other one on Sunday afternoon. So again, the whole focus of the call is mortgage coach leadership, and we're going to talk about how to create mortgage coach habits. So Josh, let's start with you. It's only been, I think, a month or two that you've really adopted Mortgage Coach as part of your workflow. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's about 2 months since I completely did away with the fee worksheet and just went solely to Edge. Cool.
So let's start kind of further back, because you and I have been talking for over a year, and I think it's important. Your coach, Bill Hart, has been advocating that you could improve the way you deliver advice with Mortgage Coach. I mean, it's been over a year. I mean, how long has it been that you've known about Mortgage Coach, you've thought about adopting it, until the point where you're at today? You're 2 months and you have a new habit.
Yeah, it was probably an 18-month delay since Bill started, bringing it to my attention and really, continually to bringing it up. And I actually had to beg him to leave me alone. I was just too in over my head at the time. And then, coming back this year, we spent a good amount of time going back and forth, and I just struggled with it. I struggled with finding the value in it. I remember I had a phone call with you one time, and I thought you were going to come through the phone and like whack me with a hammer or something. And I said, Dave, I got to be honest, I'm just struggling to see the value in this thing. I could feel you on the other side, just like, how stupid are you? Like, what is wrong with this? No, you handled it really well, but I could feel that from you on the other end. Like, what? This guy has got to be smarter than this.
Come on now. No. Hey, anytime you're a super successful loan officer, so for anybody that's on this call, what kind of production are you doing with your team? And tell us a little bit about your practice.
Yeah, so we've had a big change over the last year. So last year I was the main originator for my team, and we did something like 411 or 413 transactions for 111 or something million. And the majority of that was mine. I had two other LOs that I was giving loans to when I was on complete overwhelm, but we're basically running as LO assistants. And then this year it's totally changed. I've moved to more running the team and the organization in the direction that we're headed, and I'm just originating a few loans personally. When I say a few loans, I think I did like 3 million in production last month. But our team is now originating we're averaging between 50 and 55 loans monthly, and projecting we got a decent shot of hitting 200 million this year if we finish real strong. Probably be a little short of that.
Great. So very successful branch. You're a very successful loan officer. Obviously, you had a way that you were delivering value and winning trust before Mortgage Coach. So let's talk about your what's evolved. Why are you now a Mortgage Coach member, and why are you using it as part of your workflow?
Well, if you want to get into the why, you challenged me, to kind of really go deep on my why, and I can jump into that now. As you mentioned, I'm coached by, Building Champions and Bill Hart, and there's a lot of why in that organization. There's a lot of, surface why to get deeper to the underlying why. So I went there, and so when I start thinking of my underlying why, I do anything, it has to tie back to my life plan. And so with my life plan, Edge helps me create wealth, which I plan to pass on to my children's children. So in other words, it makes me more profitable. It's closing loans that we wouldn't have closed. I see it as a vehicle that will bring the LOs that I'm bringing along beside me up to a conversion level that's much higher than where they're at. And that all feeds into my life plan, which is to create passive income streams, and I'm going to be able to pass on for generation to generation. So that's the why to my why.
Nice. Well, I think it's important because I think that was, that pivoted for you at some point where Mortgage Coach went, okay, I'm checking it out because my coach said I should, and I've heard a lot of loan officers do it, and somewhere along the line, your why shifted and got a lot more personal. So, I love interviewing you because, you're not alone. I mean, while we have thousands of mortgage professionals using Mortgage Coach, we still have some that aren't providing it to every buyer, and we have some people that are on the fence. I mean, there's probably people on this call right now that, they're not using it on a regular basis with clients. So if you could just share a little bit about your journey, because my hope is that they'll be, one, inspired, and two, they'll get some practical understanding that will help them deliver more value to more home buyers. So if you could just tell us how you got there a little bit.
Yeah, so you mean shifting away from the other two whys that we've got on the screen now? You just kind of want me to walk through the journey, how it started working into my
well,
daily.
However you want to do it. If you have more why to unpack, feel free to do that. And then,
yeah, I mean, that was kind of an esoteric why, and I would only really think through that way because that's kind of the Building Champions way to tie things back to your life plan. So maybe we should just wrap that up to a more practical why. So that's kind of the why for the life plan. But from a business plan strategy, then, Edge helps me differentiate as an expert and mortgage professional capable of advising clients. And I think this is, when I finally saw this is where I was able to see how this perfectly fits into my business plan and my positioning and into my expert status, and allows me to go after a segment of the market that I think a lot of loan officers aren't going after right now. So that's either high-end realtors that are really savvy, or more so in my case, financial advisors who really see loan officers strictly as a commodity. I mean, financial advisors looking at loan officers generally, it's like, hey, who's the prettiest girl? Which means who's got the lowest rate and the lowest fees, and that's who we're going out with today. And we kind of brought that on ourselves because that's all we put out, Hey, I have great rates, and maybe, as an afterthought, I've got good service. But very, very rarely is it advice-driven. Very rarely is it something that can teach the client something, and even rarer is it something that can teach the financial advisor something. If you can nail those, then not only are you creating a one-time sale, but you're creating a whole business plan. You're creating a whole direction and positioning for yourself in the market. So that's how my why fits into my business plan, and then maybe just transactional or directly to the consumer, because Edge allows you to change the conversation from rate and fee to why and how. So in other words, an analogy that I use with clients all the time is the easy question to answer is, hey, which loan officer is better, the one with the 30-year fixed at 3.875 or the one with the 30-year fixed at 4? Well, that's easy. It's the guy at 3.875. But that's not the correct answer if you're maybe only going to be in the home for 5 years and you know that you're on a project that's likely going to have you move. Then maybe the correct answer is the 5/1 ARM at 3 or 2.875. Or maybe that's not the right answer if you plan on being debt-free and you're following a plan that should have this loan paid off between 15 and 20 years. Then the right answer isn't just the person with the lower 30-year fixed. It's how do we determine the length of time you're going to be in that property, and then how do we wrap a mortgage strategy around that, and then how do we illustrate it in a way that isn't 4 fee worksheets, legal-sized pages that is impossible to decipher unless you have a photographic memory from any kind of single-screen device.
Absolutely. So now, I love this word, insanely simple format. Obviously, when you first looked at Mortgage Coach for the first time, everything wasn't so insanely simple to you. What was how many times did you need to create a Mortgage Coach report before you finally said, okay, this is the way I need to do it? And what was if there was some, just catalyst, something that a realtor told you, something that a customer told you, what was it? What did it take to where you went, okay, man, this is it. This is game on. My why is deep, and I need to do this for everyone. What was the moment, or a couple of the moments that got you there?
So strangely enough, the the one thing that tied me back to Edge after you and I had that phone call where I said I'm struggling to see the value proposition here, and I was struggling to see the value that I got out of it as opposed to the time that it would take me to put into it. And the one thing that, if you remember on that phone call that I said, I might just walk from this technology at this point, except for I just lost a client last week, and when I called them back to ask them why I lost them, they forwarded me an edge proposal from another loan officer in my market. And he wasn't my favorite loan officer in my market. And so I would not let myself get my butt whooped by this guy. So I dived deeper in it. And then we spent a few more, training sessions. I watched a few more of the calls. I spent some time in the library. And interestingly enough, I had a chat with Jeremy Forcier, who does a phenomenal job on his edge proposals. And he showed me how to put together an edge proposal in less than 5 minutes. And at that moment, I figured out, okay, I know this is a winning strategy because I just got beat by one. And I now know how to do this thing in 5 to 10 minutes. And that was really the turning point for me as far as putting it into practice. In terms of results, I had one particular realtor, I think I shared this quote with you, who was a high-end realtor. She's someone who is savvy. She's an incredible marketer. She's not easily impressed. And I had I created a proposal for Edge Total Cost Analysis for one of her clients. I sent it to her to forward on my behalf. And, her response was, "That's just the most impressive professional presentation I've ever seen. Wow." Yeah, that's it. Really, that's it.
So it took you, first of all, how many TCAs do you think you had to create? Because I know when you and I spoke, it was less than 5. I think you were at like 3 or 4. And
Yep.
how many did you have to do until you got to the point where you could do it in less than 5 minutes? And you're like, okay, game on. This is a habit. How many do you think it took you before you got to that point?
Well, it wasn't necessarily how many. There was actually a change in thinking. And the one thing that that Jeremy shared with me is, he's a mega producer doing 100 million plus production. And my question to him was, how can you do that much production and do this many proposals? And Jeremy had just reduced it down to the bare minimum. There's a lot in Edge. And if you're doing 3 or 4 loans a month, then you should probably dig deep. And there's a lot of additional stuff in this that I don't do on every proposal because, I might have 10 to get out in a day. And you've got to just make them very time efficient. But when Jeremy showed me how to get a lot of value, maybe not every single functional value, but a lot of value out of a very short period of time, that was a game changer for me. And from that point on, once I understood, hey, what's the bare necessities that I can do to get a interactive virtual presentation where I can compare and contrast length of time a client's going to be into the home and total cost. Once I made that change, it only took me maybe 2 or 3 to have this thing where it was as fast as creating a fee worksheet, and I never looked back.
Got it. Now, you forwarded me a couple examples. I just want to make sure we make this as tactical as possible. I see a construction loan. I see names, so I don't know what they are. But I really want this part to be for all you out there that have created less than 20 TCAs or you're new to the mortgage coach community. Hopefully, you're resonating with what Josh is sharing here. Everybody who's a member, and Tom, you had your story back in 2003. How did you get to where you were not using it to you were using it? And one thing I know, it does require north of 5 TCAs in a short period of time. Some loan officers will create 5. In between how tech savvy they are, their keyboard skills, and the positive feedback they get, boom, it's a habit. Some, it takes 10 or 15. It was harder for them to get started, but everybody has the same thing in common. By the time they've made it a habit, they're like, wow, I'm a better loan officer. Buyers and borrowers are getting better advice. I'm getting more referrals. So Josh, let's transition to the fact that you are a mortgage coach now. You are delivering this to your customers. Let's talk about, one, the results you're getting, and two, whatever scenario you want me to pull up. Let's talk about that through a couple scenarios.
Yeah, maybe let's just move with the first one of the four that I sent you, and I put those in there because you can.
What's the name of that person so I can pull it up?
It ends in, the link ends in MMZH.
Oh, hang on,
I think this is it right here. So you've got that was it. You're spot on. So I think what's so unique about Edge is that you can use it from the very, very simple. And this is one of those proposals. I don't know if you can see behind kind of my video there. What I basically did was, the guy had called up and said, hey, look, I want to do a 30-year, and I want to either do it with 10% down or 20% down. And so, the commodity, the standard answer from most loan officers is going to be a very commodity-based answer, which is, here's my fee proposal on the 30-year fixed with 10% down, and here's my fee proposal with the 20% down. Which one do you want to go with? Which is zero advice, right? There's a zero guidance. There's zero level of developing trust. And you know that the next thing that they're doing is just turning around and they're just repeating that cycle with as many other loan officers as they have time with. And so what this allowed me to do in this presentation was, and number one is, this is just subtle, this is just me, but I think people notice the way you're dressed. I think that people notice the way that your office looks. And I think that personality marketing is as powerful and as impactful potentially as the advice portion of this. So number one, I think if you're going to do Edge, be dressed well and sharp, and there's a definite advantage there. But number two, you can notice that what I was able to do was to say, hey, here's another idea for you. Instead of going with I know the 30 or 20% down is a real cash crunch type scenario with you where you're going to be strapped. What if we went to a 20-year? We still did no MI, so this is just an LPMI, lender paid mortgage insurance strategy. And I said, with the 20-year, your payment's only a couple $100, $236 more per month, but you've got now an APR at 4.18 instead of 4.5. It's actually a lower APR than if you put 20% down. So your total cost for having the loan is less than putting 20% down. You get to keep your extra $22,000 in cash in your pocket, and your payment's only $200 more a month. He's like, done. I didn't even know that was an option. I can have only a slightly higher payment, lower overall cost, and I get to do $25,000 less cash out of pocket. So, it enables you to move from what's your fee, what's your rate, to here's a way that I can challenge your thinking, or I can bring something into the conversation that I'm certain that the other 5 people you went to didn't bring to your attention.
Now, I noticed that you did about a 1 minute and 10-second video. What are you saying in your videos, and what kind of feedback? What is your process for that? Because you're a very process-driven guy, so I'm assuming you've created some standards and ways that you're training your team to do this.
Yeah, and I'm actually testing different things right now. So I've gone from as long as 4-minute videos where I cut myself off because I go too long, and I really try. Yeah. Some of them have been 3 or 4 minutes easy.
Here's a 4-minute one.
Yeah. And I go deep into the summary and then the more info. This one was very interesting. We can move down to this one, I'll actually talk about this one in the bottom right-hand corner. The net worth in 30 years. This is an interesting one for a financial advisor client. And so I went long, and I think it depends on the person, and I think it depends on how easy they are to reach as far as the client. Some clients I just can't get a hold of on the phone. We do a lot of stuff with physicians, and they're just really hard to reach because they have crazy hours. And so I tend to go really deep in my messages. Others, I speak with them on the phone for the very first time, and I can tell they're kind of high Ds, and if I do a 5-minute, they're a very fast-paced individual, and if I do a 4-minute video, I'm going to lose them. And I just do a real brief opening. Dave, it was a pleasure talking to you. As per our conversation, I put together 3 different proposals. I gave you the 2 that you wanted, and I gave you 1 more that you might not have thought about, but I wanted to talk about how to bring your total cost down. once you have a second to look through this, I invite you to call me on the phone. And then, of course, I'm looking for them to open it. If I can catch them on the phone while they're looking at it, that's a plus as well.
So let's do this. I would like to hear some just scripting around one of these strategies, because as successful as you are and as process-driven you are, if you could pick one of these, and I just want to hear, how you would script your video so people can, they can get the Josh Mettle, TCA script. Which one do you want to do?
Let's go back to the last one. That one's perfect. This is a really good one. So this was a guy who came to me through a financial advisor, and the financial advisor said, give me your rate and fee on a $417,000 first mortgage refinance, and I think the property value was like $900,000 or something like that, and the guy's balance was something like $650 or something like that. So he's bringing in like $176,000 in cash, and so I said, okay, well, what I'm going to do is I want to give you a couple of different options here. I want to give you the 30-year that you've asked for, and then I want to also give you a jumbo 30-year, so you don't have to park that $176,000 in cash. And then I also want to give you a jumbo 15-year. So when I talked on the video, I would normally just introduce myself. In fact, I think I would introduce myself to the financial advisor here, and I said, hey, look, I'd like to just direct your attention to the top left-hand side of the screen, where you'll see the summary, and then from there you can dial into more specificity in the more info tab. In the more info tab, you're going to find information about payments, including your principal, interest, tax, and insurance. From there, you can also look into your closing cost tabs, which is going to have all of the breakdown of the closing costs of the different loan types, and of course, I may break down that a little bit as to what the non-APR costs are and what the prepaids are. And then last and most importantly is the reinvestment strategy. I'd like you to spend a few minutes here really just assimilating this information, because the advice that I'm going to give you or for you to entertain is what we can do with your net worth, what your financial advisor can do with your net worth over the next 30 years. If we don't use that $176,000 and use it to pay down your first mortgage, but actually use that to create a second investment account and invest that money. And so really dial down, look into the information on the reinvestment strategy, and what I'm going to show you here is that if you take that $176,000 that you would have used to pay down the first mortgage, we calculate an 8% rate of return, which I got from your financial advisor. It shows me that that investment account is going to be worth $1.93 million at the end of 30 years. Now, of course, that's above and beyond your free and clear home. So if you'll close out of that tab in the top right-hand corner, and I want to direct your attention to the bottom right-hand quadrant, which is your net worth in 30 years. And this is where I really want to go deep, because this is going to show you that in 30 years, if we just take your current home value at a 3% appreciation rate, your home's going to be paid off in any one of these scenarios. You're going to have a net worth of about $2.4 million. But with strategy 2 and 3, where you reinvest your $176,000, you're going to have an additional investable asset of $1.93 million, bringing your total net worth from $2.4 million to $4.3 million. Now, that's the strategy I think you should speak with your financial advisor. I want to make sure that he agrees with my numbers. And then once you have a second, I'd love to have a call with you to go through all of the details in person. Thanks for your time.
Beautiful. So again, you are someone that is partnering with the financial planner in this case. I'm sure your financial planner likes this. I mean, am I right about that? Are they liking the way you're delivering value and advice?
Well, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, the financial advisors are going to, somewhere about a 1 basis point annualized for that asset. So if you figure out what their 1 basis, their 1%, sorry, 100 basis points. If you look at what their 1% on that asset was over the next 30 years, you've obviously done a lot to build their business as well.
Good. So let's do one more scenario. I want to bring Tom into the conversation. By the way, Tom, do you have any questions for Josh or any comments at this point? And within 5 minutes, I'm going to bring you in, and we're going to focus on interviewing you and figuring out what's so great.
He's got us muted.
Yeah, Tom, you got us muted. We'll give you one more chance.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Hey, Josh, you're just a really fast learner. I'll say that because you're picking up things already that took me years to learn. But when you call that financial planner back up and say, hey, here's an additional $1.9 million in an investment account if you want to work this way, you've got a new friend for life. And I'll talk more about my work with financial planners as well, but that's really powerful when you start showing the reinvesting it.
Yeah, and financial advisors will tell me that loan officers in general, you're talking about financial advisors who've been in the business for a long, long time, struggle to get any referrals or struggle to get any sort of cross flow of business building at all from loan officers. And so it is true that referring back to financial advisors is not as common as financial advisors flowing to mortgage folks. But if we can try and use strategies like these to figure out all different kinds of ways to build their business, it's incredibly powerful. I think even more powerful so than with realtors, because financial advisors just aren't expecting it. You give them a referral or you give them an opportunity to make more money, it is a massive impact.
Yeah, well, and they want the financial advisor more than anything wants the financial well-being of their customer, and they want to help them achieve their long-term financial goals. So I mean, the backstory to Mortgage Coach was, I had over 100 financial planners that referred to me business. Obviously, I could not promise all of those people, all those planners, I was going to refer them business. So my entire value proposition was built on the fact that, right now, when you're referring to other lenders or they're just figuring out lenders to work with that aren't me, it's not in their best interest, and it's certainly not in your best interest. So every time you refer someone to me, they're going to get advice that integrates with your advice, and two, that they're going to be wowed by that, and they're going to refer you more business, and they're going to be more loyal to you. So I would always just make the argument that, hey, other loan officers can promise referrals. I'm going to promise to wow your customers, help them be more financially successful, and you're going to get 2 referrals for every person you refer to me because it's such a valuable experience. So, anyways, it all ties back. So Josh, anything else before we transition and bring Tom into the conversation that you want to make sure that you share with the Mortgage Coach community as we tell your story, and hopefully we've added some value to everybody?
Yeah, maybe just one more thing on this one-time close construction loan, and that was a neat one for me, and I'm starting to create more of those. But I started realizing that I was getting a lot of questions around the same thing. And so when you do that, you can make a TCA that isn't just specific to one person. You can just use approximate numbers, and you can explain a process, or you can explain some intricacies. Like this one talks about the difference between a one-time construction loan or a two-time construction loan. And I made my video there, my 3-minute, 36-minute video, very general. I didn't direct it to a particular client. And then I send this out all the time. I say, here's some general rates of where we've been with our 30, 20, and 15 year. And then I explain the whole video isn't anything about the costs, really. It's all about just explaining what a one-time construction loan video is, or a one-time construction loan product is, and how it differs from a two-time close. So, Bill Hart has a big thing about one-timing things. If you're sending the same email, if you're doing the same thing, you find yourself doing them over and over and over again, figure out a way to one-time them. So now when I start talking about construction loans, or we start talking about monthly mortgage insurance versus LPMI versus upfront mortgage insurance, you can actually create videos that are generic, not to a specific client, but explains concepts, and then there's illustrations there behind you. And it's very impactful with someone who's maybe not quite to the place where they're ready to move forward with an application and give you enough information to create a TCA. You can just say, hey, how would you just like some more information on the difference between this and this? Oh, I'd love that. Great. I'll send you out some generic information. I'll follow up with you tomorrow. And at that point, if you talk to your spouse and you'd like to set some time for a consultation, we can move forward. But then I now get this. I get to send them a TCA with, they get a feel for me, and they get a feel for my knowledge, and a feel for the products that we have, and it's the path of least resistance at that point. Why wouldn't we want to move to the next application step and get a more personalized analysis done for us?
Well, Josh, this has been fantastic. It's great to have you on the Mortgage Coach leadership team and in coaching calls, and have you as a Mortgage Coach brother. I'm fired up that you broke through creating a new habit, and now we're part of that, man.
not as happy as me.
Right on. Well, with the whole spirit of it's never been a better time to be in the confident decision business, let's bring in another awesome mortgage coach. Tom, I've run into you for years, but it wasn't until I was at the Fairway Sales Rally and you wowed me. I mean, it was obvious that you were a passionate mortgage coach leader. It was also pretty obvious that you were doing a great job of mentoring and teaching branch managers how to be more successful. So I want to bring into this call, and Josh, feel free to ask Tom questions as we go. But tell us a little bit about your backstory as a mortgage coach, and then talk about how are you getting a branch to adopt and use Mortgage Coach with all their customers.
Yeah, thanks. And man, first of all, I just to say, Josh, I love your hair, man. So I'd be doing videos if I had hair like you. So, hey, thanks for having me on. Well, Dave, it's a funny story I share with you. I started in mortgage business 2003. I'm an Air Force vet, so at the time I was still flying in the reserves. And so my second month in the industry, I closed 19 VA refis because I was going down and I was walking out to the jets with one of the other instructors. And he's like, hey, dude, I heard you're doing mortgages. I'm like, yeah. He says, I think I need a refi. And came back after flying, and we ended up doing a refinance loan. And I stumbled into a niche. And 2 months later, rates popped up, and nobody needed a refi, and there was nothing going on. Well, right before those rates popped up in the summer of '03, I took a day out of the office, and I came back, and my branch manager said, hey, man, I just bought this new toy called Mortgage Coach. And I'm like, cool, what is it? And he showed me a little bit of it. I'm like, man, that's great. I got to get it. So I called in and talked to one of your folks there at Wow Tools, and she's like, yeah, I'm sorry, it's a one-day special, but we can still sign you up. And I was new in the industry, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but I just can't pay full price when the guy across the hall from me got a discount, so I'm going to have to pass. And your girl was pretty passionate and pretty persistent. And she's like, well, you're an idiot, basically. She didn't tell me that, but it was implied. She's like, you're going to do so well with this software that you just need to jump into it. And I'm like, no, I got to have the special price. I'll give up. You can guarantee me $1 million in income if I buy Mortgage Coach, but I'll give it up if I have to pay more than the other guy did. And so she called me back an hour later. She goes, I can't believe this, but I talked to Dave, and he said he'd give you the same deal a day later, which we never do, but here you are. And so I started using Mortgage Coach right from the get-go, and much like Josh, I started talking to financial planners because I saw the value in that. And really my system almost from the beginning was I liken it to a baseball game. I'm a Red Sox fan. I always love it when the Red Sox win, but when they can beat the Yankees, it's even better because now the Yankees have an extra loss. And so an in-division win is always stronger. So if I can save you money on a refi, that's a win. But if I can save you money on a refi or on a home purchase, and then you can take that money and put it to work for you where it stays on your balance sheet, that's the same as beating the Yankees because it's twice as powerful at the end of the season. And Josh, that's the same thing you showed in your case study where if you save the money on your purchase loan, that's great. But then if you could turn around and take that savings or take that lump sum that you didn't invest in equity and put it somewhere where it stays on your balance sheet and it can grow over time, those are life-changing changes for the homeowner. And the financial planners that see that, I would have financial planners that would, some of them look at it and go, yeah, that's great, send me a referral and we'll work together. And I would always give them a, sort of compare and contrast. Say, hey, I can give you a bunch of people's names that may never call you back, or they might just waste your time and maybe buy a term policy, maybe not. Or how about if every time you send me a customer, I'll send them back to you and they're going to be two things. One, they're going to be further motivated to participate in your financial planning process. And secondly, they're going to have more money to spend with you because I'm going to help them uncover money that they don't know they have. And so no change to their lifestyle. You're going to have more to work with, and you're going to get better results for them. And the planners that grasp that were big time into it. So that's kind of how I got started, sort of my 2003 through 2007 or 8 mortgage coach career. 2009, I was with Fairway, and I was producing branch manager. And I had another kind of a real key mortgage coach story. I had a realtor that we did a good job on a loan, and he sort of said, I'll throw you a bone, but I'm also giving this name out to some, unbeknownst to me, gave the buyers out to me and another loan officer. And what happened was I was communicating with the wife while my competitor was communicating with the husband. and neither one of us knew that the other person was in the mix, except that the wife got a mortgage coach report from me with a video, and the husband got a transaction overview. And so they both shared, with their spouse what they got from their loan officer, and the video allowed me to talk directly to a guy I didn't even know was a decision maker. So shame on me for not asking who the decision makers were, but at the next day I got a call back, and the husband now was on the phone with me because he saw my video and he felt like he knew who I was. And so that was a pretty profound thing for us. And the cool thing that happened was this loan officer who had never lost a deal before from that realtor now works for me, and he's been with me for 3 years and got introduced to what Mortgage Coach was, and now he uses it part of his practice as well. And so it, as a branch manager, Mortgage Coach helped me recruit a great loan officer that I love having on my team now.
So that and win a loan and a realtor. So that's a beautiful story. So now your why is deep. I mean, why you use Mortgage Coach for every borrower, why you make sure that realtors are integrated, how you make it part of your value proposition with financial planners. I mean, that's pretty clear, pretty obvious. How have you been able to do that and get the kind of adoption you have within your branch? Because, most of your loan officers, if not all, I can share whatever numbers you want to share, they do this. So if you could share that, because in this call, I said it was all about leadership. I wanted to help individuals be more successful. And for anybody who's either an executive of a company or you're a branch leader, I want to help them create better Mortgage Coach cultures. So if you could share your formula for success.
Yeah, well, I'll share. The last year I was really fully focused on production was 2009, and that year I did 154 loans. I did not have an assistant or a partner. It was just me doing loans. And Josh, you mentioned Bill Hart saying it, one time and things. And I did a Mortgage Coach presentation for every single person I closed a loan for. I certainly did several other Mortgage Coach presentations, but the number of credit reports that I had to pull in order to close loans has always been, a very high ratio in terms of how many people do you talk to versus how many loans do you close. Mm-hmm. And Mortgage Coach to me has always been the fastest way to advance that, because we start talking to somebody, we're really a commodity. We're just selling bags of sugar, and there's really no difference in different brands of sugar. And if you can, someone's looking out, when people call me, they're looking for a reason to trust me. They're looking for a reason of why should I work with you instead of somebody else. And certainly the rates are that's the bag of sugar in a transaction is what are your rates. But if I can change something and say, hey, you actually don't need sugar, you need Bisquick to make your pancakes. I don't know, I'm just making up a bad analogy right now, but when you can change that dynamic, and if I can explain something to somebody else, Josh, and you showed your example where the guy was thinking 30-year fixed, I make a 10 or 20% down payment, and you go, hey, dude, here's something you never even considered. Here's a 20-year fixed, and here's how it's going to impact your life financially, long term. There's an emotional trigger there when you get in touch, when you get to a client where they say, hey, I'm dealing with a professional, and this guy knows something that I don't know, because he didn't think about a 20-year loan before you showed him that. And once they realize you know something that they don't know, they stop shopping. I've only had one customer, I probably created 1,000 Mortgage Coach reports since 2003. I've only had one person who took my advice from Mortgage Coach and took my loan program and went out and shopped the rates on it. Everybody else, virtually 1 out of 1,000, and that speaks to that person's character. Maybe I won't disparage them, but everybody else, when you teach them something, they're like, that's the guy I want to work with because he knows more than I do. And Mortgage Coach is a quick way to one time show somebody something they haven't considered. And it could be as radical as a big down payment with an adjustable rate mortgage versus a 15-year loan with a small down payment. It could be as simple as paying a discount point or not to get a lower rate. And as long as you give them an option, and if I normally do 3 choices, and at the end of the day, whichever column you choose, I don't care. I care that why you chose which option. And as long as I'm the one at the bottom line, I'm the guy doing your loan, then it's been a successful transaction.
So you touched on some things. I hope everybody connected the dots on this. I mean, I've done a lot of evangelizing around a book called The Challenger Sale, which talks about what's the framework for the best salespeople. And the best salespeople, they tailor. It means they ask good questions and they tailor their advice. They teach and they control. So you as an originator, we're using Mortgage Coach to tailor, teach, and then there's a lot of different ways that you can control that relationship. How did you get your team to follow along? I mean, was it just as simple as say, hey guys, I use Mortgage Coach, look how successful I am, you should be too? You know, how did you get them there?
Well, there's two things there. The first one is, you know, kind of just leadership. You know, hey, you know, like, Tom, holy crap, how'd you do that many loans without an assistant? And in 2009 was, you know, kind of a down year for a lot of people. And, you know, do it one time, do it in an impactful way that people remember who you are. And if it's a husband and wife shopping with different people, you're going to win that. You're going to win that shopping battle. And so Mortgage Coach is the quickest tool for that. So kind of the leadership on that of saying, hey, this is a way to do it more efficiently, more effectively with higher impact. So people are drawn to success. So that, you know, people on my team have seen that. The other one I wanted, you know, I didn't butt in earlier, but there's Dan Sullivan founded the company Strategic Coach. I'm part of the Strategic Coach program. Recently wrote a book called The 80% Solution, and he talks about how Strategic Coach is, or the 80% solution is any project you start, the first 80% normally takes you almost no time, but that's going to give you 95% of the results. And so, you know, Josh, you kind of mentioned this, is it just getting, and when you were talking earlier, what's it take to become a habit? There's a million different iterations that you can throw into an edge report, but if you will just throw it in as just figure out your 80% solution, go, you know what, for anybody who calls me, I'm going to give them an edge report with 2 other options, and I'll give them what they first asked for, I'll change the closing cost structure, and I'll change either the down payment amount if they have the ability to do that, or I'll change the loan program if there's a better option for them. And that's an 80% solution using edge. And I absolutely agree. If I can't get it done within 5 minutes, I'm not going to do it. So please don't spend 30 minutes trying to do a perfect edge report. You know, don't ever do a second take on your video. Just do it, record it, and send it out, because right now it's a live call. I can't go, hey Dave, can you back it up for 10 minutes because I said something wrong. It's just live. So do your videos the same way. And,
yeah.
And you know, I was just going to say on video, I think I'll never forget, I had a client one time that I sent out a video, and I wanted to re-record it so bad, but it was the end of the day and I was late to get home to my family. And I sent it out, and the lady came back and she said, I loved how legitimate and how transparent your videos were. In other words, they weren't scripted, they weren't perfect. If you mess up, you can just say, well, let me try that again in English. And you know, you just go through it, and people are real. People like people who are real. You don't have to be perfect on those things.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, guys. And it's not, think of it as a voicemail. I mean, you are leaving voicemails for people all the time that are detailed. When you're talking to a client and you're netting it out for them, you're having that, you know, everybody on this call, you're having that conversation right now. And all that we're saying do is put it in a video so that everybody on the home buying team is in the loop. I mean, and Tom, your story around how you were talking to the wife, but you netted it out, and the husband, he got to see you, he got to hear you, and he got the presentation. So I want to make sure we net out some keys in terms of how to build a habit. I mean, one thing I do want to address. I was at the RPM sales rally where we kicked off Mortgage Coach recently, and I love this quote from Les Brown. You know, if you do what's tough, life is easy, and if you do what's easy, life is hard. Well, creating new habits, regardless of what the habit is, it's always hard to do. You know, especially if you're super successful like Josh. I mean, Josh, that's why it took so long for you to adopt Mortgage Coach, is, you know, you weren't in pain. You know, you had a lot of success, even though there was a better way. It was painful to do something new. Yep. So when you look at our track, and Tom, if you could, one, you know, validate where this is part of your formula, or two, add on where you did something different. You know, you had a really clear why. So, you know, you led by example, your why. I have to assume you had communicated why you use Mortgage Coach to everybody on your team. I mean, no one did not know your Mortgage Coach why. Is that safe to assume?
Yeah, I mean, even part of our recruiting process is a big part. We're talking to other loan officers. It's kind of funny that, you know, Josh, you had mentioned the guy who showed a consumer Mortgage Coach, and they won the deal in Charlotte, North Carolina. I have never had a borrower. I keep waiting for it, but I've never had a borrower say, "Oh yeah, I've already seen this report before." They're always blown away, and it amazes me for our industry there aren't more people using it. But I'm thankful personally that they're not. Not for you, Dave. It's good for me, not you.
Yeah, hey, we don't need every loan officer in America on the team. We just want the best.
Yeah.
So accountability, what kind of accountability rhythms do you have for your team? Because, most of them use it. Are they using it for all their customers? And what type of accountability did you provide for them to get there?
Yeah, really more for us, more of just an encouragement standpoint, and giving them the ability, the next step there, get those 5 done as quick as possible. With the new loan officers, like, hey, send it to me at first, and they're gonna say, oh man, it took me so long, and I was so nervous, and the video is terrible, and I just, they just need as simple as just someone going, no, that was great, just send it. That's perfect, just the way it is. You're being human, and that does really help out. So mostly with the new loan officers, and then as we share success stories in our team meetings and with each other, the people that use the tools we provide are also the ones that are doing the most loans, and Mortgage Coach is one of our primary tools we use.
Got it. So everybody listen to the call, get clear on your why, have some accountability. The 5 TCAs, again, some people, they create 5, and I think, Josh, my guess is you made it a habit somewhere around the 10 spot. Would that be safe to assume? Where do you think? I realize it wasn't just the fact that you did a lot that got you there, but it wasn't like you created 30 of these before you got there, and it wasn't 5 either. How many TCAs was it for you?
I think it was really like 7 or 8, and then that was about the time that I decided, okay, I'm done doing fee worksheets. I'm just going to do TCAs.
Got it. So there you have it, folks. If you're a manager on this call, it really, the bookends, the why and the actions. You got to bring some level of accountability. Whether you heard Tom, it's an accountability of grace, of just reminding people, encouraging people. When they send you their edge links, don't punish them if it's not great. I just got from Tom that you'd be a great teacher, because while yes, you're going to give me some corrective actions, I bet when I give you things, I'm just not going to get crushed with criticism. I'm going to get some feedback, and I'm going to get some support. So I think that's important. And then the sharing of the success.
Jump in.
Yeah, please.
Jump in real quick. About a year ago, we just did in my team, the loan officer said, hey, let me throw a scenario out every Monday, and you guys put together an edge report, and let's share them with each other. So instead of just, I almost forgot about that because it was kind of a one-time deal just to re-engage us, but that was that was working out really well for us. I might have to kick that off again in October, it'd be a year since we did that. But being able to share it with your peers was also really strong, because then people are saying, wow, I'm not so bad on video, or they're going, I'm as good as that person. And so that was, we actually put we did a private Facebook group with just the loan officers in my branch, and we threw our videos up there, and everybody could watch them and comment on them. So that
great idea.
Yeah, that accountability with your peers is even better than with your manager for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, well, when I look at the organizations within Mortgage Coach, we have over 150 enterprises that we have relationships with. So I have some that have incredibly high adoption rates, some that don't, and the ones that do, they follow this roadmap. And I would say the sharing of success, if it's kind of the 2 bookends, why and sharing of success are key. If there's a great rhythm of when you're having a sales meeting, you're talking about how you're delivering advice. Because remember, Mortgage Coach isn't just a tool. This is how you are going from price to advice. This is the advice-based conversation. And so when you think, you got to think of yourself as a branch manager. You're not just trying to get people to adopt a tool. You're trying to get people to adopt a method of selling, which is asking good questions, teaching borrowers things that they didn't know. You're adding value, and you're just teaching a method of selling, and you've got to share those successes. So, Josh, I think it's safe to assume some of what your why came because you got feedback from a realtor. You got an email saying, wow, this thing's amazing. So if you're not sharing that within your branch, you're not encouraging and inspiring others. Does this make sense to everybody?
Yeah, absolutely. And we do that same thing. Whenever I create one where I figure out something new, or wherever I created one where I thought it had particular impact, like that scenario where you virtually doubled someone's net worth, we just make it a habit of sending those out and, saying this edge report got me the transaction. We're moving forward. Here it is. and we just kind of share them in that fashion. Whenever they have impact, or whenever we have somebody move forward and we think, wow, that was a really impactful way for us to leverage and advise, we'll circulate them via email to our team as well.
Beautiful. So guys, let's set out something else that's pretty important. It's important that you get really clear on what are the scenarios that you're doing most often in your, not just your branch, but each loan officer. So if you're on this call, make sure that you're being very intentional. What are the scenarios that you're doing most often? And make sure that you have templates set up, and make sure that you're focusing on that. As I've tell everybody, every Tuesday we're providing this kind of inspiration. On Thursdays, we're getting into the details. One important training I want to make sure I drive for anybody that missed last week's call is, it's not just great for the borrower conversation, it's great for open houses. This is an average open house experience. All you need to do is send an edge example to a realtor, and now they can put their mobile device on display. So this is not the loan officer's mobile device, this is the realtor's mobile device. And it's important that you teach your realtors how to use that mobile device to capture leads, whether it's at an open house. Josh, we talked about your one and done strategy. Your best agents and financial planners, you could create a one and done way for them to refer the business to you. So they've literally got a Josh experience, and you have it for all your financial planners, all of your realtors. When you have your next meetup with them, I highly encourage everybody, if you're on this call right now, pick up your mobile device, and you want to do the same thing with your agents, and your referral partners. You want to get them engaged in a multi-sensory experience. You want to say, hey, look, when you're telling them a success story, you walk them through it, where they're pinching into the numbers. They're going to the breakdown. Again, for the high Ds, let's skip the breakdown. For the high Ds, let's just go right to the graphics. So whatever it is that resonates with that referral partner, make sure you're telling a mobile story, make sure you're showing them how to use this device, and then you got to show them how to share it. So it would be really simple for every realtor to refer you a loan by just pulling up your, the Josh Mettle mortgage experience. It's a one and done video by you, Josh, tailored for a specific agent. And now all they're doing is saying, here, you want me to forward this to you via text or email so that you're in the loop with Josh. So you could literally have a way of doing that. Does that make sense, Josh?
Absolutely.
Tom, have you done anything like that, Tom?
No, I'm taking a lot of notes. So this looks. I'd love to see somebody walk in an open house and have an edge video waiting. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, these were pictures I took not this weekend, but the weekend before I went out, in my local area, and this is, what the open house looked like before Mortgage Coach, and just forward the realtor a link, and boom, we've got a conversation topic. So just making this actionable for everybody, so there's an actual script around it. This is just some talking points. Let me show you a total cost analysis that will help you purchase this loan, save money, and make a confident decision. Again, maybe those aren't your words. Come up with your own opening statement, but something, and then tell a relevant story while moving the app around. And then just really quick, would you prefer for me to email or text this total cost analysis to you? Just a really simple way for your agents, for your referral partners to create an experience. So Josh, promise me if you take action on this that you'll bring back a few scripts for the Mortgage Coach community.
You got it.
All right. So guys, let's kind of go into a wrap-up mode. I want to make sure anybody who's going to Sales Mastery, come see me. We are going to be launching our Rate Watch mobile app. So native in both Android and iOS. It looks awesome on an iPhone or iPad. Again, just part of our commitment to help you be perceived as experts. We want every mortgage coach to be the smartest loan officer in America, deliver great advice, whether it's around interest rates or whether it's around, mortgage options. So guys, I'll give you guys each, 30 seconds or so for a quick closing thought. Tom, you want to go first? Any thoughts you want to share with Mortgage Coach?
No, Dave, just thanks for giving me a chance to tell the story. I've been using it for 11 years, and one of the biggest differentiators out there. And just the 80% solution. Get started with it and send them out. They work.
Right on, man. Josh, any parting words or thoughts?
Yeah, I think we covered a lot of good stuff, and Tom's spot on. I think that your conversion rate, I know that my conversion rate is higher. I know that there's a lot of leverage that is created around the edge because, it's just a simple URL, and it's a lot easier to move around and share with folks, financial advisors and spouse and realtors, and it's much more viral than is 4 legal sheet documents that nobody can read on anything without printing it out. And I think Tom nailed it with leveraging that to each of your loan officers. And you talk about a vehicle for someone who's young into this profession to be able to share value and be able to show to a realtor or a financial advisor or a CPA that they may be young, but they have a vast experience in teaching and in sharing knowledge and advising, and it's a home run.
Right on, guys. So, hey, this call was recorded just like all of our calls. Remember, you can watch them on your mobile devices. Really simple, really easy. Just access the Mortgage Coach Rate Watch channel, or excuse me, the YouTube channel. I can't emphasize enough, I thought that last week's teachings from Mortgage Coach were awesome. So if you did not watch the interview between myself and Carmine Gallo, the editor of Talk Like Ted, really powerful stuff. And Steve Harney is just awesome. I mean, he really, I would say that teaching in terms of how to deliver a modern open house, he just crushed it. The combination of Steve Harney and the kind of insights he provides combined with Mortgage Coach would just be the perfect open house experience. So watch those on your mobile devices. Let's see, I thought I had a couple questions, but I am going to go ahead and wrap up today's call. Gentlemen, thanks for the time that you took to prepare. Really appreciate it, and I appreciate you guys and the leaders that you are to our community.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks,
Take
Dave.
care, everybody.